I've been playing around. I only see her like every 4 weeks, so it be scared. I'm working on it. I've been watching TikTok. TikTok been showing me how to wave it up. I'm learning the technique, girl. Y'all gonna have to cue us and let us. Test, 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 test.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. How are you all? Doing well. I feel like I probably don't need this. On behalf of the Office of Student Financial Services and as your 93rd Miss Prairie View A&M University, I am beyond excited to welcome you all to the third annual Shades of Purple with the Bag to Match Financial Empowerment Panel. Tonight is more than just an event, but it's a moment to shift our mindset, to embrace our ownership of our financial futures, and to step boldly into the lives we know we are capable of creating. We often hear about success, but not always about the strategy behind it. That's what tonight is all about, from entrepreneurship to real estate. Investing to everyday money management, this panel has been thoughtfully curated to pour into you. Not just information, but transformation. These are experts who have walked the walk, and they are here to equip you with real tools, real insight, and real guidance. My hope is that you all leave this evening not only informed, but inspired. Inspired to ask questions, inspired to make bold financial decisions, and inspired to build a future that reflects your goals, your dreams, and your legacy. So lean in tonight, be present, take notes, network, and most importantly, believe that everything you need to succeed financially is within your reach, and it starts with what you choose to do next. Again, thank you all for being here. I am Kaylee Smith, a graduating senior this May with my bachelor's in human nutrition, and I am proud to have served as the 93rd Miss Prairie View A&M University. So let's get into it. At this time, I would like to introduce an organization that plays a vital role in advancing financial education in our students and professional development. Please join me in welcoming the Society for Financial Education and Professional Development, also known as SFEPD, as they share more about who they are and the impact work that they do.
Hi, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Hi, my name is Yasmin Aites. I'm a junior finance major. I am a student ambassador for SFEPD, also known as Society of Financial Education and Professional Development. So basically what we do on campus is once a month we will host a tabling and we will host an event where we will go over one topic in financial literacy. The most popular topic is the budgeting and the values. So you can go to the next. So you can take a picture of this if you want. The whole slide is about 50 slides, so I won't go through all of them, but this slide and the next one after this is basically a rough summary over what we go through with budgeting and values. But with SFEPD, we offer a certification, and with your certification, it is a 8-module course where after each module you will answer an assessment for sorry, I'm cutting out. But you will answer an assessment for each of the 8 categories. It goes over budgeting, we teach budgeting and values, credit and debt, student loan management, insurance, home ownership, investor education, retirement planning, and real estate. And we make the certification possible for students like us. SFEPD stretches over 100 HBCUs across the campus, and this is the Prairie View one. We also offer peer mentoring, where you can call the number or you can go on the site and schedule a peer mentor session where they can give you advice on investing, home ownership, and any of the 8 topics that we. And if you scan this survey, it is basically a post survey, which just means that you've seen the presentation. Everybody could scan that for the. But basically, after you scan that, you should get an email. You might or might not get an email. But I have pamphlets on the table where it gives you more information about getting the certification and getting your badge that you can post on LinkedIn and you can add to your resume. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give her another round of applause. So let's officially set the tone for our evening. Welcome again to the Shades of Purple with the Bag to Match Financial Empowerment Panel. Tonight's theme is both meaningful and intentional. Purple represents wisdom, creativity, independence, and royalty. And just like those qualities, no two financial journeys look the same. Each of us represents a different shade of purple, shaped by our own experience, challenges, and goals. And when we talk about the bag, we aren't just talking about more than money, although, we do like that bag. We are talking about security, opportunity, legacy, and financial freedom. This evening is designed to meet you exactly where you are, whether you are just beginning your financial journey or looking to build and sustain long-term wealth. We encourage you to, again, be fully present, take notes, and most importantly, engage. Our panelists bring a wealth of knowledge, real-world experience across areas such as financial planning, entrepreneurship, and wealth building. They are not just here to speak, but to share, guide, and pour into each of you. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this evening, Ms. Kasia Mays.
Welcome, everybody. I am so excited. That each of you have come to join us today. I would like for my beautiful panel to introduce themselves, tell us who you are, what your business is, and if you are affiliated with Prairie View. Start with you.
Hello, ladies. You all look beautiful. My name is Rika Brewer. I graduated Prairie View in 2016. I'm a certified Houston makeup artist. I specialize in the artistry of makeup and making everybody look graceful and beautiful.
Hey y'all, we're gonna have to liven this up a little bit. Is my mic breaking up? I feel like y'all hear me okay? All right, how y'all feeling? Okay, y'all been in class all day. We're getting ready for finals. So I hope y'all are ready to get all these A's at the end of the semester. Who's graduating? Come on now.
Oh,
Congratulations.
graduates.
You got 1 week, 2 more weeks. Okay, introduction. I am Dr. Joy Thomas. I currently serve as the Interim Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Management and the Executive Director of Student Financial Services here at Prairie View A&M. So I know some of y'all's faces. Y'all probably been in our office, either turning up or turning down and getting really excited because we're giving you some money, so I know how it is. But we are here to share this wealth of knowledge on this panel so that y'all know how to ask for money and get the bag.
Hi, my name is Tyler Simone. I'm not officially, but I just graduated from college. I graduated from UC Berkeley. I own a restaurant called Sienna Wing. I have a condiments company called Sienna Sauce.
So she's really playing herself down. So she was actually, anybody ever watched Shark Tank? She was on Shark Tank with her mother. She was also on Good Morning America with her mother. And when you go into H-E-B and you're looking for those wings, because we like wings, right? The little sauces that's on there, she is branded in H-E-B as Sienna Wing Sauce.
Come on now,
Now
big
that
shout out.
deserves a round of applause.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Handy.
Downplay herself.
I am not. First of all, I want to say I'm proud to be her neighbor. We both live in Sienna. So I pass by her restaurant every day. But my name is Nicole Handy. I am the co-owner of Braden Real Estate Group. So we are full-service residential and commercial real estate brokerage in the Houston, Texas area. I'm also an active realtor as well. I did graduate from Prairie View in 2007 with a chemical engineering degree. How I ended up in the real estate industry, another story for another day, but I'm so excited to be there. I'm extremely passionate about teaching people how to build wealth through the different avenues of real estate. And recently, I just started. Some of you may have sat through one of my lectures. So if you're in the College of Business, I just started lecturing with the College of Business on the various real estate topics. So if you have not sat through one of my lectures, I hope we do connect through one of my lectures one day. And last but not least, Ms. Mays would kill me if I did not tell you guys, I was the cast member of a reality TV show on the Oprah Winfrey Network called Family Empire Houston. I was actually the lead cast member, but but the show was about me and my family's pursuit to build wealth through real estate and running our real estate business.
Y'all know she got all the knowledge. So
All of
come
it.
on now.
All
She been
of
on
it.
TV,
All
you
of
know.
it. And I am Kaysa Mays. I serve as your moderator for the evening. I have a passion for financial literacy, the Office of Compliance. So I thank my wonderful ex-boss for letting me come serve y'all in this capacity. So I truly appreciate it.
This is forever yours.
So listen, so I am excited to talk about finances. And what we have discovered is oftentimes we don't talk about finances until we get in trouble, right? And sometimes we see that in shapes of when our parents, you hear a little argument with our parents because they're trying to figure out money situations and all of that good stuff. Well, we want you to think outside of the box, how you could prepare financially to be stable, how you can change the way that you view and the way that you think about money, right? Because those topics are important, and it's important that not only are that you graduate, but you are also financially sound when you get ready to go in the workplace. Because what I will tell you is that adulting is a little different. It is not the same. You know, you be trying to figure out, do I get gas or do I eat? You know what I mean? So you're in two total different ways and two total different roles when you become an adult, because your mama gonna be like, no, girl, I ain't paying your rent, or I'm not paying your mortgage, right? So we wanna make sure that we're conscious of the things that we have. So we wanna get started off in this. How much do you know about financial literacy? Are you good with money? Are you just learning? What does it look like for you? Anybody wanna say? Go ahead. So were you surprised when they took them taxes out your check? Oh, so we don't want a Cash App, we want to get a bank account. We're going to talk about that because, see, Cash App got a way of making you spend extra money, right? So that's why it's important for you to have a bank account. Somebody else had their hand. So what would you say about budgeting? Do you budget your money, or do you be like, once it's gone, it's gone? Yes, and that's going to be important, and it's important that you learn now, because what you learn now is what you're going to take into the future. So let's get started. So Dr. Thomas, so we know, how many of you have student loans? I can raise my hand too. So Dr. Thomas, what do you think is important for students to know about their student loans when they are being offered to them?
I always say this, only take what you need if you have to. Student loans should be your last resort when you are trying to find money to fund your college education, right? And so there's so many options out there. Biggest thing is scholarships. I have a lot of students that they come in with great GPAs and they're taking out all this money. And I'm like, why are you now out there shopping for scholarships? Because there's scholarship opportunities out there for anything. You have blonde hair, blue eyes, oh, you got to qualify for a scholarship. So I always tell students, take advantage of those opportunities and let the loans be your last resort. And if you have to take out a loan, only take what you need, because where we are in today's where we are in today's climate, borrowing student loans is bound to be a burden on you later on. We don't know where the government is going with how those payment options are going to look later on. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, there were so many options for us to be able to pay back student loans if we had to borrow them. But now interest rates are going up. Opportunities that we had before with payment plans are changing, where it's like you may end up with a $1,200 student loan payment. And so to avoid that, only take what you know. I know it's nice to get a refund, to go spend and get our hair, nails, lashes, all those things done, because I love it too. But you have to think about the long-term effects of borrowing student loans. So that's what I will always say. Just only take what you need. Be careful, making sure that you're doing research before you are going out just saying, hey, I want to accept this loan because I need it right now.
And that's actually a good point. So how many of you know that your student loans are already on you? Right? So when you take out a student loan, it's automatically put on your credit report. So what you do with that student loan is going to determine what your future will actually look like. Ma'am. Good. So we want to know what inspired you to turn a family tradition into a profitable business as a at a young age. Tell them how old you were.
So I started the business when I was 14. I was about to go into high school, and I was in my last year of middle school, so I was in 8th grade. It was a sauce that I had been making for many years for my friends and family, or if we had parties or things like that. This particular instance, my aunt had a birthday party, and I made the sauce, and my mom made all the food, and she put my sauce on the food, and then everybody was like, oh, who cooked? Like, who made all this food? You know how it would be. And she was like, my aunt said, oh, my sister and my niece. And so my mom came to me at that time, and she asked me, like, hey, do you want a bottle of your sauce? Do you want to share it? And at the time when I was in middle school, most of my friends, I would say not most of them, but the ones that I were close with, they already knew what colleges they wanted to go to. They already knew what career path they wanted to be. They knew what sorority they wanted to pledge. And I didn't know anything. Again, I was in middle school, but they were advanced in middle school. And at that time, I was like, let me just take a leap of faith. Let me just, try. And what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, either the sauce does really well, people like it, people enjoy it, or I just tried to figure out what my passion is, because I didn't know what I was passionate about. Honestly, I had no passion. I wanted to be a couch potato and just, get up and, just do nothing. But that's not a realistic goal in life. But I had to figure it out. So I was like, let me try this. And in doing that, I was able to find out that what I really, truly love is just bringing happiness to people through food. And that's what led me to opening up the restaurant and now serving people every day and just living a life of service.
She's downplaying herself again. She has 2 restaurants.
Yes.
She has 2 restaurants.
But speaking of financial literacy, one of them, just transparently, I'm going to have to close because it's not producing what we expect it to be. So sometimes as you expand, you'll know that like location and demographics really do matter. And so the location that I'm in right now that's very successful in Siena, the household income is about $100,000 to $130,000, if not more. And so the other location that I moved into, the second location area, that household income is only around $60,000. So going into that space, we knew it was going to be a challenge to operate in that area, but that does make a huge difference in operating a business and your price points on what your menu items are. And you're going into a place where basically the customers can't afford your food, that can affect the business. So those are the type of things, as I expand and I look at different locations, I'll be paying a lot more attention to how the demographics do affect where we can expand into.
And Nicole, I think you can touch on that a little bit about how it's important to know who your audience is. It's important to know who your clientele is and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So
You're an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So regardless of the business, right, the first thing you always want to study is who is my ideal target audience? Because I think a lot of people just say, I'm going to open up a business. And like to her point, she opened up a business in an area where affordability is an issue and people may not can afford, the cost of her product, but she has to keep her cost at a certain level in order to be profitable, right? Everything costs, right? So after she pays all of her expenses, whatever she's charging on top of that, that's her profit, right? But no, absolutely. So knowing your target audience and understanding your target audience is the number one aspect of business, because everything you do, every decision that you make lies around that. So if you guys are saying, hey, I want to be entrepreneurs, I want to open up a brick and mortar space. Brick and mortar is just like a storefront. I'm sorry, I have to talk in layman's terms. But brick and mortar is just like a storefront. But say you want to open up a storefront, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're getting with experts that can tell you these type of financial things. What is the median household income of the people that lives in the surrounding areas? How many cars pass by here on a daily basis? Important. What does the traffic look like? What is my visibility going to look like? Are people going to be able to see me from the street? All those things matter, but it all starts with your target demographic. And I will tell you guys this: if you're making a decision that's not based on your target and it doesn't align with your target demographic, more than likely it will not succeed. Just being very transparent with you, it will not succeed, because everything in business, unfortunately, is not how we feel. It's a numbers game.
Sure is.
The numbers have to make sense. So I tell everybody, do not get emotionally attached to a business. Be a master of the numbers.
And that makes a whole lot of difference. And let's talk about you. Started off in the dorm room doing makeup, right? Started off in the dorm room doing, and now you own a very successful makeup. You're a very successful makeup artist. Tell them a little bit about how, because you were like Nikki. What was your degree in?
My degree was in health science and business management.
Yes. So at least you had the business management piece on that. Yeah. So tell them what made you want to just jump out there and say, you know what, I think I want to do makeup. I don't want to be a 8 to 5, Monday through Friday type of person.
Well, what initially started me was I was in the health. As soon as I graduated college, I went straight into my career. I was a health administrative specialist for Fortune 500 companies, managing their health benefits like 401k, pension plans, even, the regular essentials like health, dental, vision, life insurance, death benefits. And it got to a point to where I was really thinking about what my future would be. I had a son, I was a single mother. He had all the things, the schools want you to be really involved, in which I didn't want to miss anything. And I'm like, well, these bosses, they're not missing any of their children's, events or things like that. And I have to request and do all the things to try to get off, if I can, to still make money. And, so I took a leap of faith, and I was like, I need to do something different. And when I was able to get out there and really see that I actually had real talent in doing makeup, in January of 2024, I went full-time with my business, and it's going on 2 years now, and I think I'm doing pretty good for myself. So that was my motivation.
She downplays herself too, because she has celebrity clients that you've actually done makeup for as well.
So I actually have done the Family Empire show. I've done Nikki's sisters, her cousins, and so it was a really good experience to be able to service them, as well as, I don't know, you guys may be a little young, but Holly Robinson Pete, she was on Kicking It with Mr. Cooper. She's a real strong autism activist. She has a son who has autism, and she speaks about, all the things, being that April was Autism Month. And I really got a chance to really get connected with her through one of my other clients, and she was just really sweet, and she put me out there. She was like, I'm going to, soon as I come back, I'm gonna make sure that I get connected with you. So it's the little things that keep you relevant and keep you, in the right areas of people where you can really get connected and make a difference. And she was really, really happy that she got a chance to meet me, and I was too. I was really grateful for it.
Let's talk about that, because in each one of your areas, it's important that you learn to network, right? So what's your perspective on networking to make your business successful?
So personally, me, I'm gonna say this. I'm a very introverted person. I do not like talking to people. Contrary to what you may see and think, I really don't like talking to people. And it took me a lot to get out of my comfort zone. But you know how they say your network is your net worth? That is so immensely true because like she just said, all it takes is one person to introduce you to the next, that will introduce you to the next, that will introduce you to their entire audience, and it will open a door and could change your life for you in an instance, right? But we have to not be afraid to show up for ourselves. Like I said, before I was an entrepreneur in my corporate days, I swear I didn't talk to anybody. I was like, oh my God, we gotta go to this corporate event. Ugh. You know, I have to show up and like, let me take a shot so I can get through the night, you know? But you know, I realized that was holding me back in corporate America, honestly. It was holding me back in corporate America. And it was keeping me from reaching my highest potential that I could in corporate, right? Because again, I didn't want to rub shoulders. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But I've learned as an entrepreneur, it is an essential part of my business, right? I don't have anybody saying, hey, no matter what you do, you know, if you network or not, you're still going to get paid every 2 weeks. Now it's, hey, me depending on if I'm gonna get paid kind of follows off of my network. Some of my highest, so I sell real estate, some of my highest clients have come from people in my network, you know, that trust me to service their clients in the same manner. So a lot of opportunities have opened for me for people in my network. But this is how I look at networking. Networking is a two-way street. I'm not just here to take, I'm also here to serve as well, right? And so I always say you be the most valuable person that you can be to people in your business. Your business, finances, whatever the case may be, will flow. You know, and I'll kind of put it in layman's terms for you guys. A lot of the people that you see and follow today and give your money to today, these YouTubers and all of that, they have something of value for you. Whether it's, hey, I'm going to teach you how to dress in fashion, or I'm going to teach you how to be a part of my fitness program and lose weight, whatever the case is, whatever you're paying them for, it's something of value to you, right? So always, always, always remember that networking is a two-way street. You're looking for something, but also you want to be the most valuable person that you can be to people. And that's honestly how I catapulted in my real estate career so quickly. So for you guys that may not know, my first 9 or 10 years out of college, I was in corporate America. I was in IT and technology and engineering, and I recently just transitioned into real estate in 2020. So I'm only going into my 6th year, and not to brag on myself, but I am in the top 1% as a real estate agent for real estate sales. So the average real estate, agent probably sells about 7 homes a year. For the past 5 or 6 years, I've consistently sold over 50. And
and what we want you to know is that's not her team.
Right.
That's you.
Right. That's me as an individual. I've consistently sold over 50 homes as an individual a year. But when I started going full-time into real estate, that was my avenue. I am going to be the most valuable person that I can be to anybody that will listen to me about real estate. And I did use social media, but I got on social media. I gave education, free information, hosted workshops, seminars. Again, I wanted to educate the masses. And in return, business just started flocking to me left and right. So always remember that it's not just a take, it's how you serve people is what really makes you a successful entrepreneur.
And not just that, but also because I think you are where you are because you give back, right?
Absolutely.
So Nicole is one of those people I can be like, girl, I got something going on. Nicole is going to show up for y'all on this hill. That's what she's going to do. So when you're in a space, when you get to a particular place in life where you can give back, it's just not all about money. It's giving back on your time. Come back and pull somebody else up that helped you. Because how many of you have gotten any form of scholarships? Right. So that's like 90% of the room, right? 90% of the room. So those scholarships were made possible because you had an alum or you had a different business owners that said, you know what, I want to give back. I want to give to Prairie View. So remember, even when you leave here, and when you leave here, you're going to be in a place where, you know, you may not remember who Prairie View is, but at some point in your life, come back. Come back. You have to do that. Let's talk about credit, y'all. So credit is like one of those sore thumb things that nobody likes to talk about, right? Nobody understands the importance of credit until you fill out an application and they say denied. Or you go for a house and your the interest rates, the standard interest rate is 5%, but yours is 24. You know what I mean? So credit is very important. What's your outlook on credit? How do you feel about that? Because you're young, right? And you're starting a business. So, you know, I'm sure that you have business credit, and then you have to learn about business credit, and then you have to learn about, you learned about your personal credit and all that. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, for business credit, a big part of it does have to do with your personal credit. Obviously, once you get over that hump, then it's able to advocate for itself. But in the beginning, when you're applying for a business credit card, you know, they look at your personal credit, they look at your Duns and Brads. So they want to know, like, how is your business operating? They might even ask you to send, you know, financial statements and things like that. And that's why finances are so important, especially when starting a business, and keeping your personal credit clean, even though that's what most entrepreneurs will tell you. Like, when you're first starting a business, a lot of it you do use on your personal. So how do you balance that between running the business off of your personal credit, but then when you need to get business credit, your personal credit needs to look nice so that you can get business credit? And what I would say is, like, for me, when I started building my credit, I tried to start as young as possible. Like, I begged, my mom was like, you know, 13, bank account, immediately. Turned 13, went to the bank. And that was just for my regular debit card so I could learn budgeting, things like that. Then when I started to apply for credit cards, I looked at different banks. I looked at what is all the benefits. Am I getting cash back? Am I collecting points? So, like, you want to do your research. That's the first thing I'll say about credit cards, because let's just say you do let the payment carry over and you don't pay it off immediately every month. You want to know what's the interest rate you're being charged. You be charging your American Express, you're gonna be like, 24%.
American Express wants their money at the end of the month.
But if you don't, then you're getting that 24%. Or if not, then if you get a different one, then you might be at 17. So you want to talk to your bank. I do know from personal, like, recent experience that local credit unions, they do have better interest rates on credit cards. But in terms of, like, the tech aspect of it, they're usually, like, behind on that. So that can be, like, very frustrating to have both things at the same time, like a good interest rate, but then also, you know, you want to be able to log into the portal and pay your card easily. So those are all the things, like, you do your research. So what is going to be the easiest one for me to pay it on time, for me to have a good interest rate, and for me to start building a good banking relationship, because that's ultimately what you want to do. Because, yeah, you start with a credit card, but, hey, you might need a loan for something. And so what are they going to do? They're going to look at your credit score. They're going to look at your banking relationship. How long have you been with this bank? How many cards do you have open? What is the balance on your credit card? Are you going over 30% of your credit limit? So all of those things will play a big part as you're building credit, and will affect your credit score. I would say my biggest piece of advice is just, like, if nothing else, pay the minimum balance every month, because the derogatory marks of you missing one payment could, like, mess you up for a long time, long time. And there are people that are much older than me still paying off credit cards because of a missed payment, and their credit score would just drop like 30 points.
Yeah.
So a lot of people may ask, like, what is a good credit score? Like, what's the basis, right? And that's a tough question. But I will say, like, putting it in layman's terms for purchasing a home. If you want to purchase a home, you need at least a 580 credit score. I don't think that's a great credit score, in my opinion, right? But no, it's not.
What that interest rate? Not for real. What the interest rate be on a 580?
It just kind of depends on the loan type. Right.
So if I'm getting a conventional, what I'm looking at?
It's conventional, you want to be at least 640, probably right now about 6.5% interest rate. But so again, the bare minimum is 580, right? Again, that's what is required to get you in the door for a home. I always tell my clients, you at least want to have a 640 for home purchases, and that's going to give you, in terms of having lower, like we call it, interest rates and things like that. I want you to have a 700 plus. right? And so how do we get to that 700 plus number, right? Especially with you guys. Does anybody know what's on the credit report? Has anybody looked at the credit report? If you have not looked at your credit report, that's okay. Now is the time for you to start looking at it. Annualcreditreport.com is a website where you can go look at every single thing that's on your credit report. The first thing you want to do is make sure that only the stuff that's supposed to be on there is on there. Right? And on that credit report, it'll give you the credit. It'll give you the creditor. So basically, who filed this on you? Who are you borrowing from? Right? And it'll also give you their phone number. If something is on your credit report that's not supposed to be on there, let's get it off today. Call that number. Hey, this is fraud or whatever the case may be. I don't recognize this. I'm not paying this. How do I get this off? Okay, you can pull your credit report once a year from annualcreditreport.com for free. You should be pulling your credit report every year. It won't give you your credit score, but at least it'll tell you what's on your credit report, right? So you'll know, again, you guys don't have a need to look at your credit report every day. So unfortunately, you don't know if anybody has stolen your social security number or put something on there. So that is the very first thing you do. The next thing you do, how many people have credit cards? Credit cards aren't a bad thing. Right, I know we hear that, like, credit card. High balances are a bad thing, okay? So like she said, you want to keep your balance at least 30% or below of what the maximum is. For you guys, that's 10%. You don't have no bills. You're not paying it. Why do you need extra? Okay, that's 10%. But you want to make sure you're paying, but so 10% or below, right? So the easy way to do that, how many of you guys pay your phone bill or something like that? Put it on your credit card and pay it right back off. Okay, but creditors, how you build up credit too is to show that you're making payments every month, right? And so how do you get a payment? You have to get a payment to make one, right? But also too, and you do actually want a credit card now because credit history impacts your credit score.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, how long you've
any credit.
Yeah, so not having any credit is actually a bad thing, right? But you never want to have high balances on your credit cards, right? And you can shop. There are several websites where you can shop. You want to look for credit cards who have the lowest interest rate options, and start there. But put something on. A good rule of thumb is, like I said, put whatever bill you pay on a monthly basis that you already have the cash for, put it on that credit card, pay it right back off. Be diligent about doing that.
And that will actually boost up your
Absolutely,
credit score, too.
yeah.
And let me just say, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing you guys can do too, if your parents are good financial stewards,
Yeah, authorized.
you can be an authorized user on their accounts. So essentially what it is you're not the primary person of the account, but you are an authorized user. You are authorized to use that credit card. That shows up on your credit report. So if your parents have low balances, they're making good payments every month, guess what? That reflects onto you as well. We call that trade lines.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So again, talk to your parents. Again, if your parents, ask your parents to see the balance. Okay, don't get on something the credit card is maxed out. No, just being serious.
No, seriously.
Yeah, don't get on it because I have a client right now. She's on her credit. She's on her dad's, and we're having to take her off all of them because he's maxed. I don't know what he did, But we're having to remove her. But again, it can work in your favor as well. Right?
And it really does make a difference because I started, once my children turned 16, I put them on as authorized users. So when they turned 18, they actually had a credit score out there. One of my daughters that's at the College of Nursing downtown, her credit score is like a 750.
And that's a really good score.
Basically by being an author. Now, she ain't got no credit card. She ain't finna slide my credit card on and do nothing like that. But she's an authorized user on that. So when I make my payments, it reflects her credit history as well. You wanted to add something else.
Well, I was just going to add, everything they said is so true, but given from an experience perspective, life happens as well. And this is just my life, and life happens. So sometimes you might have to use that credit card that you don't want to use. You want to keep your balance low, but you might get a flat tire. Don't get paid for 2 weeks. You need a tire to get to school, to work, to do the things that you need to do. So you may have to use that credit card and exceed a balance. Don't, be responsible. If you have to max out a credit card, max out, that's horrible because that's not fun. When you max it out, it's like you're never going to pay it off. But if you have to use more than what you anticipate, it's okay. Just pay it off and be responsible, like these ladies said.
And just make sure you're making the monthly minimum payment.
Don't miss a
nothing
payment.
else.
Don't miss a payment. And try to pay a couple of dollars more if you can.
The thing about the credit score, like as soon as you pay that card all the way down, then your credit score goes up. But if you miss a payment, even if you make up for all the other payments after that, it's not forgiving that. So like one of my cards, my Apple card, they only gave me $1,000 on that. So it's at like 800, and I just paid the minimum every month. I could pay it off of it, I just haven't. So it's at $800. But I'm saying, like, I would never miss a payment on that card. But whatever day I feel like, all right, let me just pay the $800 because I need a little bit extra points, and maybe I want to buy a car or something. So let me give me a little push, a little cushion, so my score can jump up before I give them my car application. Then, like, those are the things you can do, but just don't miss the minimum payment if nothing else. Another thing I did when I first started building my credit, I think there's an app called like Self. So I took out a loan that was basically like a loan of like it was me. So basically they take my money and they put it in a savings, and then I just like pay a little bit every month. And then at the end of all of that, they give me all the money back. So it's like, I think I did like $1,600 or something like that. And so then I paid like $30 every month for like, I think 18 months. And then at the end of the 18 months, then I just got a big deposit for like $1,600, and I think they took like a small commission of it. But that did help create credit diversity on my credit report, because you can have credit cards, but they also want to see you other things like apartments, cars, loans. And if you're not doing any of that right now, and you don't want to like also have to go to a bank and do a loan like that, you can use like apps like that basically you just pay a small amount every month, and it's kind of like a savings account for you, because you'll get a big disbursement back at the end of like 18 months. So that's just one of the things that I did. And there's a lot of things that you can do to create credit diversity on your account, but credit history is very important, because right now, even though all my other things say like perfection or excellent, it still says like you've only had credit for 5 years. So
Because you're young.
because I'm young, yeah.
and
So
the older
start
you
as
get,
soon as possible, I'll say, even if it's just.
Another thing I wanted to add was, yes, pay the minimum, but another rule of thumb people may not tell you, pay double what the minimum is to avoid the interest. And again, if you could pay it off, like she said, as soon as you pay for something, I mean, within that 30 days or whatever that billing cycle is, before that billing cycle is up, pay it so that it doesn't even, reflect anything as like a balance on your credit. So pay double what the minimum is to avoid the interest, because now interest rates aren't 20%, 18% anymore for credit cards. They're like 30, 31% now. Even with credit unions, you have to be careful too.
and here's the deal, you learn how to leverage your credit, right? We talk about that all the time. You learn how to make your credit work for you, right? So oftentimes you'll get to a point where you're like, okay, I could spend my cash, but I really, so I'm gonna put it on credit. But if you don't have sufficient enough credit, you won't be able to do that at all. So that's why it's important. And most people don't know until they try to make a large purchase, such as a house, when they figure out, and she asked them, what's the first thing you gonna ask? Credit score. And what they be telling you? They don't know. So before you make any large purchases, know what your credit history looks like. Nobody is going to loan you a large sum of money.
I was just gonna say, don't waste them people time. If you already know you walking in there with a 520, just go somewhere else to
And
enjoy your day.
do your research. It's important to know. So don't go to a realtor and say, buy a house and you're looking at, yeah, okay, this is what you can do.
You can buy a Barbie house till you know.
to help buy it.
And download apps like Credit Karma and like Equifax. So, I mean, Experian, yeah. So you can track your scores. Like, that's an easy way you can pull out your phone and like know what your score is at all time. And sometimes it'll send you nice messages that say like, you're doing good, or
Or you're getting a little too high.
yeah, or it will send you scary messages too, but it will hold you accountable. I think they also have budgeting features now. They have features now where you can know your net worth in the app too. So if you put in all of your cards, like your debit cards and your credit cards, it'll let you know like how much you're in debt versus how much cash that you have. And that's also a good way to manage your income, to make sure your debt's not getting too big. Because even if you're under that 30%, but you got a $20,000 credit card, that could be like $4,000 technically in debt. So it really depends on what your credit limit is on that 30% she was talking about earlier. Like if you have a $30,000 credit card, maybe you should be at 10%, maybe you should be at 5%. So it's not just like always 30, but you never want to really go over the 30.
Let's talk about the difference between wealthy and rich. Y'all know who wants to be rich? Y'all know the difference. I know the difference. Why don't we have that conversation? Like, your portfolio can look totally different when you are well diverse. Let's talk about that.
So it just kind of going back to the wealth conversation really quickly. I look at wealth as something that is not going to, you're not rich, your generations will be rich. You know, so again, it's kind of going back to your portfolio of assets. Basically, assets are things that you own, right? Your portfolio of assets that you can pass down, that you can leverage cash off of to create other opportunities for your, like I said, your generations to come, right? And so, of course, with me, real estate is one of the biggest portfolios that you tend to see that wealthy people have. And the reason why is because the first thing is real estate is one of the only things that you really see that is what we call an appreciating asset, meaning it grows in value. Right? What you pay for a house today, and I can tell you a really, really good story, but what you pay for a house today, more than likely that house is going to be worth more during the years to come. You buy a car, as soon as you take it off the lot, it's already gone down in value. The more miles you put on it, it's gone down in value. Get into a wreck, it's gone down in value, right? So that's why you see so many wealthy people investing in real estate, again, because we always want to look at what's those assets that are appreciating. And it's so funny now, I shouldn't even say this, but it's funny how now, like, stuff like Chanel bags are appreciating. Like,
Girl,
I saw.
Let me tell you something. They can put it in glass.
Exactly. So, but again, if you want a Chanel bag, go for it. But make sure you get you an appreciating asset, right? Yeah. Chanel bags some of them are appreciating assets right now, you know? So always look at not what is it going to cost me, but what is it going to make me? And again, focus on purchasing appreciating assets because number one, the two things, in homes, in real estate, there's this thing called equity. And equity is basically the difference between how much it's worth and how much you owe. Say you buy a house today for $200,000. You pay your mortgage every month, and so forth. It grows in value. 5 years later, that home is worth $300,000. You only owe $150,000. All right. Now you have $150,000 in equity. Equity is another form of a bank account. It is not liquid cash, but it is value and money that you can tap into. If you need to borrow against that $150,000, you can.
At a cheaper interest rate.
At a much cheaper interest rate because you already own the asset. A lot of people do that to grow their wealth. And I tell people this all the time. All it takes is one home. You get $150,000 in equity in a home, you can take $50,000 out and guess what? Go put it on the down payment and buy you another home. Now that one home is created two. And you do the same thing over and over and over again till you're buying a home a year. To where by the time you're 40, you have 20 homes and that you can pass down to your generations. You can leverage it. You can sell a house to pay for your kids to go to school, college, whatever the case may be, right? But you always want to focus on the appreciating assets. But how you get appreciating assets, one is keeping your credit good so that you can be what I call financeable, right? So you can go to the bank and, hey, bank, you know, I have good credit. And I have all of this money in equity in assets. You know, my portfolio is worth this much money. I want to leverage this money to borrow a business. We really need to understand how to leverage capital. You need money to invest. You need money to open businesses and things like that. Where do you get that money from, right? And so that's why you like, I don't care how young you are. As soon as you have a job, you should be working with financial planners and advisors. Yep. Right, understanding how your money can work for you. One is in real estate. A lot of people don't know this, but life insurance. Everybody thinks life insurance is just there for when you die. If you get certain life insurance policies, they have this thing called cash value, right? So as you're paying your life insurance every month, every year, it's growing in value, right? It's growing, the cash value is growing. For my daughter, that's another form of a savings account. Honestly, my daughter's 9 years old. If she passed away today, I would be sad, but my lifestyle or my income would not change. So I really don't need life insurance for her from a perspective of I need to, you know, I'm going to lose my house, right? But I have a full-term value life insurance policy in place for her as a savings account for her, because over these years it's just going to grow in value. Some people use, and you can borrow against that cash value, right? Some people use that cash value to do what? Go invest in real estate, to buy other appreciating assets. So understand how you can make your money work for you, putting it not just in a regular savings account, in things what we call a high yield savings account, right? So a savings account that's going to, so when you put your money in a savings account, the bank give you a little interest, right? They say, oh, you gave me $10,000, I'm gonna give you $10, right? They give you interest every month. So, because the bank is actually paying you to borrow that money. You put your money in a bank account, the bank is using your money. Okay? It's not just sitting there, right? You're basically pooling your money for other investments. That's what banks do. But high yield is basically saying, hey, you know what? We're going to pay you more than the little standard 2%, right? A high yield may pay you 12 or 15%, right? And when you only have $100, that's not a whole lot. But when you have $1 million, 12 and 15% off $1 million is a nice chunk of change every month, So again, work with financial, it's okay to get with experts. I know sometimes we're ashamed to show people how in debt we are, or what we're not doing right, or how we spending all our money on clothes and shoes. But learn how to understand how to make your money work for you is the most important thing that I'm trying to convey here.
That is important. And Rakia, since you work in the retirement industry, what would you say is what type of savings, or what type of something could our young generation of students maybe start off by trying to save for their future? At this particular point, they probably think there is no need to start saving for my future, right? There's no need to have a 401 or retirement or anything like that. But in fact, when you start early, it works out better for you.
So I do have background with employee benefits. I would say the most prominent thing that I express this to my family members, my friends. Start early. Take advantage of your financial tools early. I know someone said that they had a job, right? She said she had a job. Now, it may not seem like something you want to contribute to right now, but now is the time to start your 401k, especially if you have a job where the company is doing great enough to match that. Oh my goodness, that is going to be essentially free money, because that is what's going to grow over time as a compound interest. Not only just 401k, these pension plans, of course you can't access them until you're a certain age, but that is also a thing to think about when you're also an entrepreneur. Let's say when you guys take that route, you want to make sure that even if it's as small as $20, $50 every month or every time you get paid. Start small now so that it'll grow over time. This is something that you're continuing to contribute to. A lot of people think, well, when I make more money, then I'll go ahead and contribute later. But really, the time is now, because you may not, like I said, it could be 20, 30. You want to make sure that you're contributing something so that, you're setting yourself up for your future. Not just yourself, but, your children, your family. You want to make sure that you have a safety net, and make sure that you're able to yield income that can come from multiple streams of income as well.
So let me tell y'all something that was real funny. I started working at Preview almost 14 years. So my first check, right? That first check, it said TRS on there. You remember that? It said TRS. And I said, TRS? I didn't ask for TRS to take no money out of my check. I said, my benefits ain't even coming out of that, but TRS is teacher's retirement, right? And so I was like, why is TRS gonna take their money? And I ain't even been here 30 days, okay? So, but I say all that to say now, I truly appreciate TRS, right? Because it's teachers' retirement. I have now paid into teachers' retirement, plus my employer has matched what I have. So when I get ready to, when the Lord says it's time to go sit down at the house and rock on the porch or something like that, I will have a savings account. I'm not going to have to rely on a Social Security check every month, right? We have some of our family members that they rely on a Social Security check every month. You want to have multiple streams of income that are coming in, even like right now. Yeah, everybody ought to have a side business as high as groceries are. Groceries is high. You need you need a side business. You need to be able to do something. It may not be your full time, but it's something that you can do to make you money on the side. Now, I'm not gonna leave Prairie View because I got good benefits here, but there's multiple streams of income that you can do as well. So it's very important to realize that. Let's talk about how you manage your student loans. So let's be real. Everybody cannot go to school on scholarship. They can't go to school and not, have their family pay for it. But once you graduate, so 6 months after you graduate, 6 months after you leave here, who gonna be knocking on your door? Sallie Mae, Navient, whoever they are, okay? This is what I generally tell students. There's a couple people that you can't run from in life. That's your student loan people, IRS, right? They will collect your firstborn if they have to. They will take it right out of your bank account. So let's talk about how to manage student loans once you have them.
So first thing, as she mentioned, you're good as long as you're in school. As long as you're in school, they're not going to ask you for money. They're what they're called, they're in a deferment stage. So they're deferred until you're no longer enrolled as at least a half-time student. You've graduated. So after that 6-month grace period, because they give you 6 months grace, they will start sending letters. They'll start sending emails. And they is Department of Education, whether it's, the Department of Education has multiple servicers. You may have Mohila, you may have, somebody mentioned Sallie Mae. So it just depends on your servicer, but they will start contacting you saying, all right, you ready to pay? Because we ready to take your money because you took all of ours, plus some. And so when it's time to pay those loans back, what has happened in the past is that you work with your servicer. They are able to give you the best repayment plan that's convenient for your current lifestyle. So a year ago, we had what we call the SAVE plan. The SAVE plan accommodated your current income. So your loan payments were only 5% of your take-home take-home income. And so now there's been some changes under what we call the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. If you're familiar, the OB3, they gave it a fancy name to make it sound good, but so now some of those payment plans have been reduced and taken away because they want us to pay more into our student loans. Yes, it's alarming. Yes, it's kind of scary. Nobody has started paying yet. I think that'll start in October. But what they're required to do is to work with you on payment arrangements, work with you to make payments that are more convenient for you. So what I would say is whenever you have completed school, if you don't decide to go back to grad school, get your doctorate, whatever, start working with your servicer and saying, hey, I'm not where I want to be income-wise. My salary is based off of me just being a fresh college graduate. They should be able to work with you to make sure that you are able to pay them something versus paying nothing. Because when you don't pay anything, there's this big word that everyone should be scared of is going into default. And that's only not applicable to student loans, but you can default on a personal loan. You can default on any type of loan. You don't want to go into a student loan default because as these ladies talked about, they will start garnishing your wages themselves. And it will be... They will take more than what you would have paid anyway if you would have just paid them. So you don't want to go into default. So we're talking about managing your loans after college. Just work with your servicer. Try to get the best payment plan that's more convenient for your lifestyle at the time. And then as you start making more money, start paying more. Start paying those loans off. Again, there are different programs as well. So you have the public service loan forgiveness, which you pay your student loans back, make 120 payments, or that's what it used to be. Who knows? I don't know if they made changes with that at this time, but you start making those payments, and once you paid off your loans for 10 years, they'll forgive the rest, depending on what your borrowing limits were. And so it's just a matter of, it all goes back to doing research and being proactive. Don't wait on them to send you something, or don't wait on them to tell you you're late on anything. Don't wait on them to say, okay, now you're 240 days delinquent, because that's a bad thing, because you're really going into default at this point. So you have to be proactive. Make sure you're attentive to your student loans and how you're paying them. And if you have challenges, they do have what they call forbearance. So if you go into forbearance, they will allow you to, I think we're allowed up to 36 months for forbearance. So that gives you the opportunity, if you call and say, hey, I lost my job, or hey, I'm not gonna make this payment for the next six months because I have some challenges personally that I'm going through in life, ask for that forbearance. So it's multiple ways that you can prevent yourself from going into student loan default.
Yeah,
You know-
your student loan servicer is not like your electric. Like if you don't pay, they just off, right? So they're a little bit different. They're willing to work with you, but there should be no reason while you have a negative mark on your credit report because of your student loan, because there's options such as forbearance, deferment. There's options such as your repayment plans and all of that good stuff. So those are ways that you want, and actually your student loans can really help you build your credit, right? Versus hurting you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you know if for like the forbearance, if they report that to the credit? Because I know like
Yes.
for homes, if you try to do that, they can put it on the back of your loan, but then they still report it to your credit.
Yeah, and with the student loan, it's reported, but it's not a bad thing because it's not reflective as you're not making a payment. You have an agreement with the Department of Ed to say, I'm gonna take a pause. I need to take a pause right now.
And I'll
See the
say
answer.
the number one reason why people get denied for home loans, other than credit, is student loans.
Well, you know
So
why?
make sure you take care. Yeah, they can't. Go ahead.
Because student loans are the number 2 debt of Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why you think?
Well, but I mean,
the
a lot of
man
it,
is
but
like,
like,
y'all
like she
paying
said,
this
be
money.
proactive.
Y'all wanna pay.
Because in some cases, your servicer will put you in forbearance, like during COVID or something like that, right? But then they don't tell you when it's time to start paying again.
And the interest that has piled up during
Right.
that time frame.
Right, right. And so you don't know that you're supposed to be paying, and now all of a sudden they're in default, and now that just, you can't buy a house. Like, they don't play that. Like, the student loans are the number two reason, why people are denied for home loans. But I just want to say this, and I hope I'm not going off topic. I would be remiss if I, as a real estate professional, if I didn't encourage everybody to go buy a house as soon as you can out of college. And let me tell you why.
That's so true, y'all. Because I did. That's true.
No, let me tell you why. As soon as you can, because number one, there are a lot of programs out here to help you guys purchase homes. Where we make mistakes is we think we got to go buy the biggest and the nicest and the best. Just buy a home. Yep. And let me tell you a story. So, let me tell you my story first. Took me like 2 or 3 years out of my career, out of college to purchase a home. The first home I purchased was $76,000. You'll never get a decent house for $76,000 again. But that's what it was when I purchased my home, okay? It was a foreclosure. Somebody lost the home. The bank owned the home. They came in and redid the whole home, repaint carpet. So I walked in the house. I'm like, oh, I'll take this one, right? But it wasn't my dream home, guys. And I'm going to be honest with you. I bought that house and went back, stayed at home with my parents. I'm dead serious.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
I'm dead. This is I bought a 4-bedroom home that cost me $76,000, and I wanted it so bad it was really listed for $75,000. I told them I'll give them an extra $1,000 because that's how bad I wanted the home. Okay, but anyway, bought a 4-bedroom home for $76,000. I could have lived in the home. It still would have been a great asset to me. But instead, I just thought that, I saw my parents, my grandparents, everybody owning rental property. I thought that I was supposed to do. So I was like, this is my first rental property. Put a for rent sign in the yard. I went back home to live at home with my parents. My goal at that time, guys, was just to get enough money to cover my student loans, to pay my student loan bill. Because I believe if I'm going to create more debt, I need to I already have a way to pay for it. Right? So this rent house was going to be the way that I pay my student loan bill every month. But anyway, bought the house for $76,000. My mortgage payment was $742 every month. I still have a picture of this home in my phone because it is a reminder to me what real estate home ownership can do for you. I rented that house out for $1,400 a month. So I was clearing about $600 and something every month, and it paid my student loans. 5 years later, I got a tax bill, and I'm like, they crazy if they think I'm going to pay these high taxes. So I said, I'm going to sell this house. It's no longer a good investment. Dumbest thing I should have ever done. I did not. I wouldn't have done that today. Right? But anyway, the reason why my tax bill went up is because there was a lot of new development that happened in that area that caused the home values to go up. So unbeknownst to me, I bought a house for $76,000. In 5 years, that house was worth $160,000. So do we understand now? Yeah. And I always had a tenant paying my mortgage, so there was really never a mortgage payment out of my pocket, and I cleared an additional $600 and something a month. When I sold that home, I got $83,000 cash in my pocket. As a 20-something years old, that was the most money I had ever had in my life. I thought I was rich. No, I'm so serious. I mean, I'm like, I hit the jackpot. Yeah, I'm that girl, you know? But seriously, so I took that $83,000 check and I bought me 4 more properties out of it. I got 2 rental properties and 2 Airbnbs. So that one home right there allowed me to start my real estate portfolio. Okay, so if I don't tell you anything else, buy a home just as soon as you can. It does not have to be the best home. It doesn't have to be the brightest. It just buy a home. There are a lot of ways out here that you can buy a home. If it is your primary residence, so basically you're purchasing a home with the intent to live in it, that's gonna be your lowest out-of-pocket cost for you to ever buy a home. Once you start buying investment properties, homes that you're not gonna live in, you just wanna rent out, the price goes up, right? But Texas, especially if you're in Texas, and if you don't plan on being in Texas, that's okay too. Just educate yourself on wherever you are. They have a lot of programs out here to cover people's down payments. Okay, meaning you can buy a home with no down payment. Right? So the average down payment for a home is about 3.5%. So, i.e., put it in layman's terms, if you buy a $300,000 home, your down payment is going to be about $10,500. There are programs out here that you can leverage that the government will say, hey, got you covered. Don't even worry about the 10. Right? As long as you can pay the mortgage and you have the income and you have the credit and you don't have a whole lot of debt, you can afford it on paper, you can purchase that home, okay? So you can purchase a home as soon as possible. You don't even do 2 years of rental history. I mean, not rental history, sorry, 2 years of work history, because I know a lot of you guys hear that too. Guess what? That little offer letter that you have that says, hey, we're going to accept Sally Mae. She starts on Monday and her salary is going to be this amount. That's good enough to qualify for a mortgage loan. Okay, so as soon as you get your offer letters, you guys can start looking for homes if you choose to. But again, don't buy the biggest home, buy something that you can afford, but just know it's gonna grow in value. And that's how you start. If anybody wants to be a real estate investor, that's how you start your real estate portfolio. Because you can buy that home, have a low mortgage payment, pay your mortgage, live in it for a couple of years, let it grow in value, do what you want. Turn it into a rental home, have somebody else paying you more than what you're paying for the mortgage, or you can sell it, cash out, and buy you a larger home, whatever the case may be, but just purchase a home.
Let's talk about what financial cause a problem with financial.
So that's a good question. So one is not understanding how to have access to capital, right? Loans aren't a bad thing. It's what we do with the money when we get the loan that makes it a good or bad thing, right? You have a business plan in place or something like that. I don't recommend that you exhaust all your personal capital to start a business or to grow your business, right? But again, you want to be strategic with it. But a lot of times we don't know how to leverage capital. You know, we don't even know how to go to the banks and say, hey, here's my business plan. I need some money so that I can hire me a couple of employees so that I can scale my business and things of that nature. We don't know how to do that. So leveraging capital from a business perspective, and I'm a real estate agent. From a real estate perspective, you know, a lot of times we are left with properties that our grandmas have, you know, died on, family members have died on. And it's so sad because in the Black community, you see a lot of these homes being lost to what we call probate issues, right? Tax issues, you can't find heirs and things like that. So I want to encourage you guys to encourage your parents and even you. If you own one thing, you should have a will. Who does your property go to?
A trust.
And a will, trust, but there needs to be something dictating what happens with this property once I move on. And like I said, in our community, people die without wills, and it causes a lot of problems because now we got to figure out who even owns the asset to sell, you know? So encourage your parents and even yourself, as soon as you own anything, make sure you have a will in place or, like she said, a trust or some type of document that says, hey, this is how my assets will be passed down once I close my eyes.
Okay. And not just that, but it's also important that even generational wealth that we understand. Nobody should have to bury you. You should have a life insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah, no will and no life insurance is the worst thing that can happen to you, right? But again, but what also to my point with the real estate is to a lot of times when your loved ones leave with a home, that home has tons of equity in it. They've paid the mortgage for years. Half the time they're free and clear. They don't even owe a loan on it. So we're losing them to what I call pennies on the dollars, to taxes and things like that. Even if you don't have the money to pay the taxes, learn how to leverage capital. You can go take a small loan out to pay those taxes back, so that you don't, you might take a $20,000 loan to pay taxes back, but the home is worth $300,000, $400,000. That type of loan makes sense to me. So, but again, understanding how to leverage capital. How do we get access to capital for when we need it, not necessarily when we want it? And those are the questions that you guys should be having with your financial advisors, your financial planners, bankers, and things like that, just so you understand. I would say if you're going to have a business too, another thing is you want to leverage capital when you don't need it. Hear me out.
Important.
Hear me out. You want to leverage it when you don't need it, when the business is doing well. And the reason why is because when you go to get loans or ask for money, the first thing they're going to say is, let me see your books. Let me see your profit and loss statement. Let me see your tax returns and things like that. And they're going to want to make sure that the money is coming in. More money is coming in than going out. You have no problem. When you get in a desperate situation and you have more money going out than coming in, guess what? They're more than likely not going to give you a loan. But again, always have a plan in place of what you're going to do for that money. And the plan should be you're going to use that money and put it back into the business so that you can scale and make more money. The rule of thumb in business is whatever your expense should make you 3 times what you pay for it. You pay somebody $100,000 salary, that person should be making you $300,000 a year.
For kids, launch your business. Okay, so when you launch your business pandemic, what financial strategies help you to grow and sustain during the baby? I know I wasn't coming out the house, so I ain't need no money.
Yes, launching my business during the pandemic, it was very trying, I will say that, but I felt a calling. I knew that I needed to do something, and I wanted to kind of get out of the 9 to 5. So one of the strategies that I used was I was very intentional about my finances. I made sure that everything that I purchased at the time was directly beneficial to my business. So whether if it was essential products, makeup, lights. I mean, lights can be expensive. Chairs, sanitation. During this era, sanitation was 100%. I mean, everybody is, of course, paranoid, but people were still outside. People were still at the club, popping bottles. They still getting their hair done, their makeup done. So you had to make sure that you were very intentional about, well, I made sure because I'm a clean freak. So I made sure I was very intentional about sanitation. And not only that, I take my health serious, my son's health serious. So you have to think about your family and the people around you as well. So another strategy I used was reinvesting. I put my money into marketing. I put my money into promotions. My cousin, she was one of my models. So not necessarily paying, people, being strategic, like, hey girl, you want your makeup done? You want to look cute? Okay, come be my model. You got something just like that. And you push that out. And now we're in the age of content. You got to do backflips, stand on your head, and do the 2-step for you to get, social media pull and clients and things like that. So during the pandemic, that was my #1 goal. And the multiple streams of income. I taught virtual makeup classes. Some people didn't want to come sit in your face and, wear a mask while you trying to get them to do the makeup because it's almost impossible for you to learn how to do your own makeup and you having a mask. So virtual classes. I was still working as a health administrative specialist, so I was still doing that and managing and operating 2 of my family businesses. So that was another stream of income. My dad and I, we own, going back to generational wealth, we own an apartment complex. Now it's in the hood. It's in Cashmere Gardens, but the property there, is getting gentrified. They're bringing in people who want to buy, but that's another thing I wanted to say when you were talking. Keep your property within the family. Make sure that you have the money to pay the taxes on everything, because if you feel like that, or if you don't have the money to pay and they're offering you this big amount, you're gonna jump on it because you're like, well, I can't pay for this, and they're about to give me this money, and I'm gonna be good. No, the money is in the property, the money is in the land, so make sure that you keep that within the family. That is gonna be 100% your generational wealth. As well as we have a trucking company, a freight authority. So that was another business that I was managing. Then I still wanted to, I'm still young, I'm a single mother, wanted to maintain a social life. I still had my career, my profession. I had my passion that I wanted to do, that I still wanted to pursue. So time management was number one during the pandemic as well. You had to make sure that you were managing your time very well.
That is good information. Go ahead, man.
Rika said something that I really, really want to point out. She said while she was starting her new business, she was still working full time. Yeah. And that's something I want to encourage you guys to do. If you have aspirations to be an entrepreneur, I think that is amazing. But leverage, as you go into your careers, leverage the money that you're making from your career to help you fuel your entrepreneurial business. By the time I quit my 6-figure corporate job, I was making more money in real estate than I was on that job. I became a sucky corporate employee. I like to say, I proudly say that. I was a sucky corporate employee. But again, I had already built my real estate business. I had already had everything in place, all my systems, all my processes, all of my operations in place before I just said, hey, I'm done. Because as a lot of entrepreneurs will tell you, sometimes it takes up to 5 years to see a profit. Seriously, it takes up to 5 years to see a profit. So you will see a lot of entrepreneurs still have another major source of income while they're building their business. So don't be afraid of that. That's actually a good thing. A lot of people fail when they don't have another source of income as they're building a business. So like I said, just leverage your corporate job and things like that to build your business. I'm very grateful for my corporate job. It taught me a lot. And there's just not money, but it taught me a lot about life and professionalism and all those other things. So it's not, I know some people are just like, oh, corporate America. No, corporate America is a great thing and it's a great benefit, and you can leverage it to build your entrepreneurial journey. Build your business. Right.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I wanted to ask you, what does financial success mean?
For me, it's freedom. That's what I've always contributed to it. Like, a lot of people think that I'm successful because of the things that I've accomplished or done, but I'm still not free. I still can't come and go as I please. I'm still working actively every single day in the business. And my goal, I've always said it, is to technically retire by 30, but I'm always gonna still be in the business. But it's a difference between having to be there or wanting to be there. Then, that's the difference. The difference between having to be there than wanting to be there. And I want to get to a point where, I'm at 30 and I don't have to be working as hard as I am. But if I want to show up and do a shift or do something, like, I can get in the kitchen and cook. My goal has always been to be able to be young enough to actually experience my wealth and share it with the people that I love. So that's why I started so early, because I didn't want to be like a 50, 60-year-old entrepreneur. Now, there are some young 50, 60-year-olds, but me, everybody talks about your 20s, so I'm like, let me get the best of it while I'm 20. And I think there's like a big false narrative around entrepreneurship and with young people, oh yeah, go get the bag, get the money. It is not like that. It is hard. You're in the mud. You're looking at the bank account and you're like, well, all my employees have to be paid. So yeah, I'm not going out. I'm not doing nothing. Every time I'm not at the shift, somebody else has to cover me, which is an additional expense. So it's not that, hey, I don't want to go hang out with my friends, but if I'm not there, I'm losing money to hang out with you. So do I love you enough for me to go hang out with you, spend money, and lose money while I'm with you? Now, I do love my peoples, but also you gotta have the right circle that can understand that.
And that's important.
Yeah,
that's
some
really
people,
important.
they won't understand it. They're just like, well, you just never want to come out. You just never want to hang out with me. And it's like, no, babe. If I'm with you, I'm losing.
making money.
I'm losing twice. Like I'm spending money
And it's
on
costing me to
drinks.
Yes, it's costing me to hang out.
It costs me
And
to hang
that's why
out
when
with
y'all
you.
get
like-
husbands, y'all make sure that he understands
Yeah.
the concept when you be like, oh yeah, let's go out. But
Yeah.
no,
And that's why it's important, like when you talking about network earlier, like network is who you know, but really who knows you.
yeah.
Who is gonna bring you up in a room or advocate for you when you're not there? Because it doesn't really matter that much necessarily if you know them, but if you go up to them and they're like, oh, like I don't really remember you. So like she said, make yourself valuable, make yourself memorable, because these are the people that can advocate for you when you're not there. And that is why your network is so important. And also, like, even when you were saying, like, you know, asking your friends, hey, can I do your makeup to start my business? Sometimes your family, they won't be your first customers. They won't be your first supporters. It's going to be your friends. It's going to be other business professionals that you meet. You're going to have to bargain. You're going to have to trade things that are services, and may not always be financial, but it's like, hey, if you do my makeup, maybe I could cater your party. Like, sometimes you will have to do exchanges in a barter system. So those are different ways that you can start and like grow a business. And those are things that will help you get closer to that financial success that you asked me the question about. And so for me, it really just looks like freedom.
Have you ever worked for
No, that was a goal.
the Lord
I
do
did.
it.
I did though. I used to act like when I was younger. Yeah, I did acting and stuff, but I immediately knew like I did not want a boss. Like no, I definitely didn't want to go to school for a long time. So I never liked school. I just never liked school. Like even when I went to college, like most of the stuff that I learned, I went to business school. I went to the #1 business school, but I still didn't go there for that. I went there for the credibility and the network that the school provide.
And that's what's important.
Yeah, because if anybody asks me, I'm like, if you're going to school for business, if you're just going to school for business, just don't go to school. Like, you don't need that debt.
Yeah.
You don't need none of that. Now, you need to figure out what you're going for, because it's got to be more than the education. It has to be the network. It has to be the connections. It has to be the credibility that comes with the institution. It has to be more than just the education, because now, with all these resources we have, you don't have to get that from going into a university. So it has to be for more, especially in this time. And that's what I always tell people, because for me, like, I was never a big school person. And because I started my business so young, people ask me, like, are you going to go to college? And at the end of the day, the only reason why I went was because of the school that it was. Yeah. If it was any other school, I probably wouldn't have gone.
What are some common myths?
Common myths. One is that you need 20% down to purchase a home.
Why
Right.
is that? Where is that?
I don't know. It's just been put out in the universe. Everybody, you know, I'll have people to come and be like, you know, I want to buy a home so bad, but I don't have 20%. Right? 20% again is for investment properties. You do not need 20% to purchase your primary residence. Like I just told you guys earlier, there's a lot of ways that you can purchase homes with no money down. Another common myth. Let's see. Some common myth. I think that's like the biggest one. Another common myth is you don't need any money at all. That is absolutely not true, right? So you do need money. There are fees and things associated like that with purchasing a home, plus your ongoing maintenance, the cost of maintaining a home and things like that. So you absolutely do need money. It's just not as much as people think, all right? Other common myths. Y'all help me out. What are the common myths? I think that's the biggest one.
You can't be a homeowner.
Oh, yeah, you can't be a homeowner. That's absolutely not true. You know, like I said, 580 isn't the best credit score in my opinion, but it will get you in the door. So if you have a 581, let's go find you a home. You know, but no, you absolutely can be a homeowner. I think that was some of the main ones. Yeah.
Dr. Thomas, what role does financial play in responsible?
Of course, it plays a big role. It goes back to financial literacy. That's education. That's educating yourself on how to borrow, how to be responsible. So I always give this example when I do these panels or I'm talking to a group. I speak from my experience. I was raised in a family that taught you what not to do when it comes to finances. Coming from a family, and it's understood. You know, some of us, we're not fortunate. We don't come from families that are wealthy or rich. So we come from families that, you know, they're struggling. They're, you know, we're robbing what we used to call robbing Peter to pay Paul. So you don't learn a lot. I didn't learn a lot. I'm still learning. At 44 years old, I'm still learning a lot about financial literacy and all these aspects. Just even sitting on this panel tonight, me being probably the oldest one up here, next to Kasem, being the oldest one up here, I'm still receiving a lot of information that I love that you all are getting at this stage, because I didn't have that in college. I didn't have that in high school. I didn't have that from my home. And so just making sure that you are, I think you all are doing the right thing. You're attending things like this where, you know, and I see, you know, we're at a school with over 7,000 undergrads, and we have 30 people that showed up. We're gonna grow. We are gonna grow. I'm sitting here looking in the crowd, and this is gonna be big in 5 years, 2 years. But just continuing to listen to feedback like this, and you have experienced professionals and experienced people that are probably in shoes that you are in or will be in, and listening to that kind of information and learning how to be responsible with your finances, because it goes a long way. And you're gonna continue to learn. We're gonna mess up. When we were talking about those credit scores before, my credit score has been down, up, down, up, down, up, and I'm still standing, you know? So you just have to learn from your mistakes financially and learn not to make those same mistakes and use that. And she said responsible borrowing, but that's just across the board, not only borrowing student loans, but everything that these ladies have talked about up here today.
Most definitely. We want to open it up for questions from the audience.
Hi, my name is Jack. Oh, that was loud. Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I know y'all were talking about like borrowing credit and not using 30%. Is there any like advisement or warning y'all would give about, you know, they have Afterpay, Affirm and all that. Is there any like advisement y'all would give with that in your credit score and borrowing with that?
So who want to take this?
Firm does show up on your credit because it is technically a loan. So when me and my husband, we bought a house this year, and they ripped our bank accounts inside out. I mean, they wanted to know about my property that I own, that I inherited from my family. They wanted to know how much money was there. They wanted to, oh, well, you put some shoes that was $93 on the firm. Can you send in a statement that shows that it's paid off? Well, it's been paid off for I don't know how long, but they still want those things. So I would say, when you do get ready to purchase a home, or if you're just being, you know, vigilant about things, just make sure that, you know, you're paying off those things as soon as you can. Like I know Affirm probably gives you maybe 2 months, I believe. I mean, as soon as you have that money back in your hand, just go ahead and pay it off, because it's not worth the stress. I mean, now Afterpay, I'm not sure about Afterpay, but Affirm for sure, because it is a loan that does go on your credit.
And keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with it if you have to use it. There's nothing wrong with getting credit, but it's being responsible with the credit that you actually get. Anybody else said?
I'm in the space to where I'm ready to invest money, and you were talking about getting your first home. Don't let it be the fancy one, which I kind of been doing my research and I got that. But is it true? My question is it true that you have to stay in the home for 2 years and then you're able to rent out the space? 1 year, okay.
If you get a government-backed loan, that is true, right? So a government-backed loan would be what we consider, what we call an FHA loan, or a VA loan. That is true. You have to occupy the space for 1 year. The cheat code is to buy multi-family. Right, so you can buy more than one door. So it's like, let's say you get a duplex, right? That's still because you live in one side and you rent out the other, right? And so because you're living there, it's still considered a primary residence home for you. That way you're gonna get the lowest down payment option, or, you know, in some cases, no down payment option. But now think about that. You buy a $400,000 home, real talk, the mortgage payment on a $400,000 home right now, just depending on where it is probably like $3,400 a month, right? You buy a $400,000 duplex, the same $3,400 a month, but you can rent out the other side for $1,700. Now you're paying only $1,700 a month, you know, for a $400,000 asset. So that's kind of like the cheat code right now, you know. Again,
Let me ask you something. So with that, property is still homestead exemption?
homestead. So yes, so it's your primary residence. So that means you're going to be able to get the lowest down payment option, as well as what she said homestead. Homestead, the state gives you a discount on your taxes, your yearly taxes, when it's your primary residence. So you will be able to get a discount. Yeah, even with you automatically becoming a landlord because you have somebody else paying the other half of the mortgage. Yeah. You know, I think I think multifamily right now is the #1 cheat code, especially with the way their interest rates are today.
I have one other part to my question, y'all, because that's my plan. Do you recommend buying the land as well, or just the property?
So when you purchase the what we call the dwelling, the home, the land is included.
Okay, because I've been seeing like a lot of realtors, they were advertising selling the property, but I'm pretty sure like they're not giving up the land.
Right.
Okay.
The property is the land and the actual home that's on it.
Gotcha.
Hello, I'm Teresa Winder. First, I want to say thank you for coming down for this occasion. This has been very helpful. My question has to relate to my age. So I am 18, and so I want to ask you all if you could come back to my age, what is one thing you would do differently or that you would just simply advise me to be doing? Because right now of course I have several bank accounts, but I don't save, I want a high yield savings account. I actually set up an account with Cypher when I first got to Prairie View, so I'm just very curious.
So that's actually how ahead of us. So if I could tell myself when my younger your age, I would probably say investing is important. Because when I look at it, you know, I'm like, if I open up remember back in the day it was get a CD and get like a good interest rate.
10%.
Yes, a 10% interest rate. But if you start saving younger, the more wealth you will have. But if you wait until you get a family, when you have a family, like all your money goes for, like my daughter right now, she's like, you know, hey, drill team is $1,300. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you start saving early, it really does make a difference. We're not just telling y'all that just to be telling you that, but saving early and the most thing that you can do for yourself is investing. How do you invest in yourself? Making sure your finances are good, making sure that you have a savings, making sure that if a rainy day comes, because it's not if, it's when the rainy day is going to come, that you have the leverage for that you can go to your savings account or you can go pull out something from a house, you know, take a loan or something like that on your house. What would you say?
Well, I wasn't 18 that long ago, so I probably have the same question, but mine's gonna go probably a different route. I would say like start with your mental health and your sexual health, because like she said, having a kid is expensive. So I've just been making sure that I'm avoiding that at all costs. But you know, you're still young, so like also just protecting your mental, like try not to put too much pressure on yourself and have these conversations with friends. Like make sure your friend group has the same mindset as you, because they're gonna be the fastest ones to probably derail you. Because one of my friends, I told her like, hey, I wanna go to a basketball game. And she told me like, hey, like financially I'm not there right now. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, we don't have to do that in the conversation. I'm not egging her on. So like have people who understand your situation and that you can communicate to without feeling like, oh, like if I tell her this and she's gonna think I'm a brokey or whatever. Like, no, like have people you can talk to and be honest with, and that, hey, if you go out with them, maybe they might buy your meal for you. Like you need to have people that will support you at whatever part of your life that you're going through and have like real friends. So like focus on your friendships, focus on your mental health, and focus on your personal health, because you can't build a future financially or any way otherwise if you don't have those things together. So protect yourself first, especially at this young age as you're transitioning into adulthood.
It was a long time ago when I was 18, okay? So no, two things. The first thing is position yourself to be able to purchase a home as soon as possible now. I'm telling you, it is changing my life. I wouldn't speak this and I wouldn't say this if it wasn't from personal experience. So again, start looking at your credit, whereas you can save money, start doing so. When you get those overpayments, those refunds, put it in the bank. Set it aside. But again, start positioning yourself to be able to purchase a home as soon as possible. The second thing is seek out mentorship and coaching. Learn from other people's mistakes. You'd be surprised what you can learn just from being an assistant and working with somebody, asking somebody to mentor you, asking somebody to coach you, asking somebody to guide you along the way. We feel like we have to figure it out all on our own. Those days are over. Claude and ChatGPT might be a good mentor to start off with, honestly. No, I'm dead serious now. It's in my opinion, there are too many free resources out here. But again, the best way to learn is hands-on, seeking out from someone else's mistakes.
Next to the probably, it's been a long time since I've been 18 too. So I think along with all the sentiments already that's been stated, saving is probably the biggest thing. Again, I always speak from experience. And so saving was probably one of the hardest things because again, just knowing that you have money and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just dip a little bit here. I'll just take $50 out here. I'll take another 50. Next thing you know, that savings is gone. And then you're back trying to build up. So I went through a lot of cycles of that. So if I could do it all over again and train my mindset, she talked about the mental, train your mindset that just because you have money doesn't mean you got to spend it like my mama used to say, it's burning a hole in your pocketbook. Your pocketbook. So when it started burning a hole in the pocketbook, say, let me step back. Let me put this somewhere that I can't touch it. Like back in the day, the old people used to take the money, put it under the mattress, and nobody knew where it was, or they'll put it in the wall somewhere and nobody knew where it was. Like Big Mama and the house catch on fire and the money just come everywhere. That's what I wish I could have done. And, somebody will find some money later on in life. But if you want to think about your future and think about your family in the future, start saving now. And sounds crazy, sounds diabolical at 18 to be able to save, but $100 here and there, just start trying to build. And by the time you're 44, you will have a nice savings if you just put a little bit back and don't touch it. She also talked about, again, the mental. That's the biggest piece because, again, we go through things happen, and some of us even mentally, we get into a space where you're depressed or something, and going out buying a bag makes you feel good. Or going out and getting the whole, or food, and you want to go to an expensive restaurant and things like that. And it's okay to do, but just being mindful of how you're spending. It ain't something you're doing all the time, and making sure that you are mindful of your finances all throughout your life. And like she said, have a good circle. If you got a home girl that she want to go out and eat crawfish every night, and crawfish ain't $3.99 a pound no more, they $10.99 a pound, you can't do it if you want to be responsible. So just thinking about things like that and keeping that, mindset of, hey, I want to have wealth one day and I want my children not to have to struggle. Just keeping that in your mind, and I think you'll go far.
So I know this probably is going to sound redundant, but we talked about being wealthy and rich, right? Knowing the difference. Wealthy people have investment properties. They have real estate. Another thing wealthy people have is investment accounts. I wish when I was 18, I knew about stocks and investments and Merrill Lynch and, the Prairie View Credit Union. I actually just signed about a week ago for that. And $20. If you don't know how to get a hold of these beginner-friendly investment platforms like Robinhood or, any of these, beginner-friendly investment platforms where you put in money and then you watch the numbers, it does what it does, and you get a lot of money back, and you just go ahead and do it again, and you take some out, and you just repeat the cycle. If you don't feel like you can even have the patience for that, then go to an actual investment broker. Merrill Lynch, we have an account with Merrill Lynch where we put $200 from each of our paychecks and we just watch it grow. That is a huge thing to become wealthy. Investments and just from compound interest, watching your money grow in that account, not touching it, just letting it grow. That way you have that safety net. If you do get a flat tire, if you do have a rainy day, if you do get laid off, and you can't pay your rent for a month, 2 months, you have that safety net there that you can go in, take out the money, and you can do what you need. My son, when he was 1 year old, when he was 2 years old, we started him an investment account. Instead of asking for birthday gifts or toys and stuff that he's gonna throw away, we just ask people to kindly contribute to his investment portfolio. Right now, his investment portfolio is sitting at $269,000, and we're not gonna touch it. And he's 7 years old. His birthday is in December, he's gonna be 8. Just imagine when he's 18, if he decides that he doesn't wanna go to college, but I'm pushing for Prairie View, if he doesn't want to go, that he has a plan to come up with some residual income to where he's still gonna be successful. So starting early is key, investing.
Thank you so much.
One more question.
Hello, my name is Shelby Davis. First and foremost, I do want to thank you all for coming out tonight and spending this Thursday with us. My question actually is on the topic of investing, and so any of you can answer. I feel like I'm kind of in a place where I do have a credit card, I don't have student loans, and I actually do invest, but I'm like stagnant, or I guess like wondering where that money exactly should go. So I know like doing research on like which stocks I should invest in, but also like what are your thoughts on like opening up like a Roth IRA, and then like how much money should like be going into the stock market as well? Because like example, like NVIDIA is already like maxed out. So I can't really, with the amount of money that I'm making, like I work on campus, it's not enough to like put into NVIDIA to make profit back off of. But if I do like a technical company, I don't know like off the back of my head, but like for something like cheaper, and then I buy multiple shares of that, then I'm able to make more for like long-term purposes. So just like, what are your thoughts on kind of how much money to kind of put in if you don't have a job that can like max out a certain amount of money, if that makes sense?
Have you looked into NFTs? Something that you should probably look into too, so you don't feel like that you're stagnant and you're not going anywhere, because that's the money of the future. They say that everything is eventually going to be digital. Digital income is something that you should definitely invest in, and it's not going to max out. That stuff, it's just going to keep coming and coming. Have you tried Merrill Lynch? I would say look into Merrill Lynch. Prairie View has a credit union. There's so many options. You could chat GPT, what is da, 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 and it's going to give you a whole 15 paragraphs you didn't ask for. It's going to give you so much information. Utilize your tools to make sure that you're optimizing all the avenues that you can, so you don't feel stagnant, like, okay, I've maxed this out. What else can I do? You don't know the next route. Consult a professional.
And everything on TikTok. Everything on TikTok is not true, so you got to make sure you are doing where you be like, I didn't do this because they, right? So you just want to make anything that you do in life, you want to make sure you're researching.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when I was in college, we had some chats like this, but like, you're gonna leave here and you're probably gonna forget like a lot of the things that were talked about, except for if you took notes, but a lot of people didn't take notes. So like, if anything, after you graduate or after you leave here, just have like quarterly check-ins with yourself and like hold yourself accountable to actually think about this stuff. Because you'll go back into your life, you'll think about your relationships, you'll think about your home, you'll think about your friendships, but you won't think about like, oh, I just had that financial seminar. What did we talk about? What are the things that I took away? So if nothing else, like leave here and just put something on your calendar as a reminder. Like 3 months from now, a week from now, something just to hold yourself accountable, to keep these things front of mind, because life is going to keep happening. Things are going to keep happening to you. And so this may not always be like the center focus on what's on your mind, but it is very important, and it's best to start as early as possible. I think that's just been the reoccurring message of today. And what I wish is like more of the talks that I had in college, if I set a reminder for myself to actually like take some time, sit through, or even if you guys know each other, like y'all can go and have like, oh, let's have a meeting and discuss like what did we talk about today? Like what did we take away from the panel? Because maybe somebody next to you remembered something that you didn't. And just trying to keep these conversations like front of mind as you continue to go back into your life, because life will just suck you back in. When you're in this room, you're here with us, you're present right now, but realistically, when you leave, you're gonna go back into the world and you might just like forget everything. And so just put something out on your calendar, something just to bring you back to this moment so you can actually take in what we talked about today.
Oh, I have a question for Ms. Hardy. My name is Talia Winder. I'm currently a senior, graduating this May. So I remember and recall you talking about your story with first starting out with buying a house straight out of college. So I kind of want to understand why you wouldn't want to have sold your house due to the taxes increasing, because you know that's a big cost, especially coming out of college. And then also, you know, do you just continue paying that off, or? And then I also want to know your thoughts on Airbnb, if that's like an option, because I also know that's kind of controversial now, especially with that market kind of closing.
Yeah. So the reason why. Oh, that's what I was about to do. Yeah. So property taxes. There are parts. So property taxes. The state of Texas charges everybody that owns a property taxes on your property, right? And so how we calculate how much do you pay in taxes? Essentially, it's the value of your home multiplied by what we call the tax rate for that area. And depending on that area, they can have different tax rates. Realistically, in Houston, you see anywhere from, to be honest, like the hood, the inner city, like 2.2%. When you get out to these nice suburbs and things like that, you may see like 3.5%, right? But anyway, the value of your home times that tax rate, that is your yearly tax bill, right? That's how much you pay in taxes yearly. Now, when you have a mortgage and you're paying monthly on your home, most of the time what they'll do is take that estimated amount of taxes, divide it by 12, and charge it to you in your monthly mortgage payment every month. That way you're basically accumulating, saving up all the tax money and paying it at the end of the year. Why I say I should have never sold a home, because even though my taxes had went up, I was still very much so on the right side up, right? Like my mortgage payment was still cheaper than what I was bringing in rent. Also, the value of the home had grew substantially, right? So I had much more money in equity. I just didn't know. I was just kind of young, like, ooh, the cost went up. Maybe it's time for me to sell, right? But had I still had that property today, property probably would have been worth $300,000 or $400,000. You know, and it would have been paid off. So now I would have owned a $300,000 or $400,000 asset opposed to owning a $160,000 asset, right? So that's why I said I should have never sold. I just didn't know. I was kind of young at the time. I just saw money. You know, I was excited. You know, I was like, "Oh, it's costing me too much. Let me get off of it. Give me my cash." What was your second question though about the? Airbnbs. Yeah. So my thing with Airbnbs right now is. The Airbnb market, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, is extremely saturated, meaning there's a lot of them. So before, you could throw a property up, furnish it, make it look decent, and make a decent profit. Now, you have to be the cream of the crop, you know, in order to compete with these Airbnb markets. And when a market is saturated, when there's a lot of them, you can't raise your prices more than so high, right? Because you can't be extremely high, because then everybody's going, well, I'm going to go to the next one that's lower, right? So, you know, supply and demand too. But the thing too with Airbnbs, short-term rentals are becoming regulated. Meaning, like for example, in New York, the mayor then hooked up with the hotels. It's like, you know, the hotel industry has giving the mayor $5 million towards his campaign. Guess what he did? All right, no more Airbnbs. You got to go to the hotels. Yep. Right? The hotel said, we're losing money. So the mayor shut it down. They regulated it. So now if you have a business that's solely based off of short-term Airbnb rentals, guess what? You just went out of business. You know? And now you have all of these properties that you're paying mortgages on and things like that. So you really out of business. You're probably about to go in foreclosure and things like that. Same thing happened in New Orleans. New Orleans allows Airbnbs, but you can only rent it out for so many times a year and things like that. So basically what I'm saying, if you're gonna get into the Airbnb market, that's something you should again get with mentors and coaches that can guide you on the most strategic way to be the most profitable. Number one, you should always have an exit strategy for that too. Meaning, if I can no longer Airbnb this property, can I at least put a tenant in here, a 12-month tenant in here, and get my expenses covered? Right? That should always be your backup plan, because again, tomorrow, the mayor of whatever city could say, hey, we shutting it all down. If they shut it all down, are you out of business? But in my opinion, Airbnbs are kind of saturated, so I wouldn't just come in as a new Airbnb investor saying I'm gonna start an Airbnb business. I really would get with a coach or somebody that has a successful, profitable Airbnb business for a long time and let them guide you on the way to make sure that you're profitable.
I have one question.
Good evening. My name is Pandy. So I have two questions. So with credit card usage, how important is that when building your credit? So like, I try and use my credit card for like my Netflix, my Apple Music, maybe some food, maybe some gas. Well, not now, but like how important is like having credit card usage every month? I know that people say that they need to see that you need the money, but if there's like a month where you don't use your credit card, is that like bad, or how does that really look?
Just pay the bill. You want to make sure the bill is paid. You don't have to use it a certain amount of time. It's important to keep your credit utilization below 30%. Keeping it below 30%, that's actually a good thing when you're trying to go out and borrow, and they're looking at how much you're using that credit card. And if you have multiple credit cards, as Ms. Nikki mentioned earlier, try to keep that pretty low. Keep it below 10% of the total amount that you have on that card. Just pay it. If you're not using it, that's great. Just making sure it's paid, and try to keep a zero balance. That's my response.
Because
that interest gonna get you.
With credit cards is all your debt. So you can have all of these credit cards and you pay these cards on, but if you have a large amount of debt, not enough then that's kind of lopsided too. So you just gotta you can play the credit card game because people play it all the time, right? But you have to leverage it to work as an advantage.
Yeah, so like for me, what I do with my credit card is I have the money to pay in cash, but I pay it depending on, and this again about doing your research on what card you have. I usually try to use my credit card to pay it because I get points. And so those points, they add up, and I can end up traveling and getting a free stay at a hotel. Like right now, I think I have 50,000 points because if I go eat or drink a coffee, I can use the card to pay it. I get the points immediately, and then I can go home and use my cash and pay the card immediately. So if you're not playing the credit game where you want to keep it balanced so that so that they report to your credit every single month that you're paying your bill consistently, at least, if anything, you can just use your card so you can get points, because those points can actually convert into money. You can convert it into money, at least on my American Express. When I go look at it, it's you have 50,000 points, but you got $500 technically in your credit card. Or you can use it if you travel, you go different places, and you want to pay for stuff with your credit card points, you can do that. So any transaction that you do on a daily basis, you could technically use your credit card, and then just, if you already have the cash, immediately pay it. But what you're not getting when you do debit is you're not getting nothing. You're just giving your money and you're not getting nothing. At least if you use your card, you're still giving the money, but you're still getting points. So you get something back for using the credit card. So if you don't have a lot of bills right now or anything like that, just any day-to-day transaction that you use, just get a good credit card. And that's why you do your research on which ones have like cash back or points or things like that. And you can use that for your day-to-day transactions and just pay it off immediately if you're scared about having balance or things like that. So.
And that's very important. So I think the key that we are telling you all is, so for an example, before I apply for anything, before I do anything in life, so for an example, I have a Citi credit card. With that Citi credit card,
wait, can I use it? Because I need to get
I want her Chris Brown Usher ticket.
I love my Citi
She want the Chris
card.
Brown Usher ticket.
So, I need the tickets.
So, oh yeah, because that early if you had a Citi credit card. So I ain't going to see Usher. Sorry. But with my Citi credit card, what I actually did was I used the credit card so I can gain the. I had enough points for me to actually go to I only paid like $150, right? So you have to leverage these things. Don't just sit up there and be like, oh, I'm gonna give me a credit card. If you're gonna pay this, what type of benefits am I gonna get off of this? Yeah. That's important.
If you are gonna spend money, like if I buy anything that's, let's just say it's not a valuable asset, but it does cost a lot of money, I usually try to put it on the credit card. Because if nothing else, I'll get like some points, and later down the line, those points add up. Like I've had my car for 4 years now, and at some point, like when I didn't have a lot of cash, sometimes you can actually use the points on your card to pay the balance on the card. So like there are different things that you can do when you have like points on your credit card, and then there's just a lot of benefits. Like if you travel a lot back and forth, depending on what your lifestyle is, then you can have like a free check bag, things like that. So let these different benefits work for you. Obviously, you do want to build your credit, but if you're going to be spending the money anyway, you might as well spend it in a way where you're getting something back in return.
And don't be afraid if you get a credit card and the balance, the limit is low. It's okay. Because the more you pay on it, they're going to increase your limit. And some places like the credit unions, let me tell y'all something. All these big banks that y'all want to give y'all money to, I just don't do. I do credit unions. They value my business, okay? So Navy is a good one, right? Yeah. Navy, they value my business. So when you have a credit card, you pay the credit card on time, they will increase, right? Now, that's not to say that you can go and just start charging up it. You're going to be responsible when it comes to that. But I think you had something.
Yeah, if you have, do you have Experian, the app?
No, I have Credit Karma.
Credit Karma, I'm sorry, it's horrible. Yeah. You should do Experian because Credit Karma makes you believe that you have a score that you absolutely do not. Right. And so Experian will allow you to, it'll show you your payment history, it'll show you derogatory marks, it'll show you the whatever credit lines, trade lines that you have, and it'll show you the ranges of each that you should be in. So it'll even, if you click on the little I for the information, you click on that, it'll give you an explanation of this is the average, this is the threshold, this is where you should be. If you go through all those things, you'll know exactly where you should stand and where you shouldn't go above for your credit. It'll give you a great explanation for it. So Experian, it also give you your Equifax, TransUnion, your FICO, and it's very accurate and it's free.
So some people are like, why shouldn't you use Credit Karma? Because so Credit Karma uses what we call a Vantage credit score. And so a Vantage credit score is like a different credit ranking system than the FICO scores or other trustworthy score rankings. So and it's inflated. So a lot of times if you are looking at Credit Karma, I think Credit Karma is a good tool to gauge what's going on financially. Like, am I paying my bills on time? Or my balance is a little high, things like that. Have I improved? But it's not going to give you a realistic score. Realistically, your Credit Karma score is probably going to be 40, 50 points higher than what your true credit credit score is. Like if you were to go ask for a loan or try to get a mortgage loan or something like that, they're definitely not going to look at the score that you see on Credit Karma. MyFICO.com is another good site to check your accurate credit score as well.
Even your bank will be able, if you have Chase or something like that, it'll show you what your credit wise is. I think that's what it's called, credit wise. It'll show you what your score is, and that's pretty
A much better gauge than Credit Karma, but it's MyFICO.com.
And now a lot of your credit cards, you get free credit monitoring. And so a lot of my credit cards, or if I've taken a loan somewhere, you get the free credit monitoring. And so they're pretty accurate. They're going to tell you, and some of them, they're pretty quick too, because as soon as something changes in your credit score, they're alerting you. So it's now so many ways out there to monitor your credit, but Credit Karma is funny because my mama told me the other day, she was like, girl, I got a 790 credit score. Who said it? Oh, Credit Karma, that's what I use. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, Mom, great.
Probably got like a 750 though. She's still good.
Yeah, just a little 40 points off. She's still good.
Ask them which credit union they pull from. So like you'll have Credit Bureau. Sorry, which one they pull from? Because you probably want them to pull from whatever your best score is. And then I also had a question for you. I heard recently, like, there are different credit scores. Yeah. So, like, if you're buying a house, different things.
Absolutely. That's why I like myfico.com, because there are different, like there's a mortgage score, there may be like a auto loan score. And so they're going to be in the realm, but that myfico.com will tell you exactly which score that particular creditor is going to look at. So that's why I like myfico.com, because there are different scores. They're based on different ways. And so like depending on the creditor, they might look at a different score. But also too, if you apply for a loan, anything like that, if somebody pulls your credit report, you have the right to ask them for a copy of it. So you know what's on your credit report and you know how much what your credit score is.
I think she had one more.
Yes. So I'm also interested in opening a high yield savings account. I was doing my research on that a couple weeks ago with like opening one with Marcus by Goldman Sachs or through SoFi. But is there a high yield savings account that y'all would recommend?
I think Goldman & Sachs is good because I've noticed with the Apple Card. So when I got the Apple Card, it started off at like $4,000, but I was really, really interested in when you get these credit cards, read the terms and conditions, even the smallest print. Don't just look for scroll all the way down to the interest rate. Go through all of the details so you know what you're getting and essentially what you're going to get back for it. So I would say Goldman & Sachs is good because I know from experience, I have a $12,000 limit now because I've kept my credit good so that just like if your credit starts to go down or like you miss a payment, your credit limits on all of your credit cards essentially over time are going to go down and it's going to happen quick. So if you're paying your credit cards back like you should and you're in good standing, you can keep requesting a higher credit limit so that let's just say you have a $12,000 credit limit and you use let's just say $5,000. Well, that's a percentage that's almost over 30. But if you keep increasing your credit amount that's allocated that you have, you could use $3,000 on $45,000 and you're not even close to the 30. So I would also, again, I would say Goldman Sachs.
Well, I want to personally thank you for being here. You guys bring such a wealth of knowledge to the Hill, and we appreciate you out to our students. I want to thank each. I'm going to call Miss Marquita and Michelle up here to close out the program.
Let me say one last thing before we move on. I always have to do this at the end of these. This is our third year, right? I want to give a shout out to Miss Kaysa Mays. Because, yes, please give her a hand clap. And I have to do this every time. So last year, Kaysa was in the Office of Student Financial Services around this time, and she was very instrumental in ensuring that this program continued to happen after our first successful year. So unfortunately, she left me mid-summer last year to go do some boring work in a compliance office, like really. But one thing she committed to me was that I want to make sure that we continue our, what do we call it? Shades of Purple. It's late, y'all. I've been working since 7 o'clock this morning. Shades of Purple. And I just want to thank her for continuing to make sure this program continues and that it's successful. And hopefully she will still continue to work with me as long as I'm here to make sure that this program continues to be successful and it grows and grows. And hopefully we'll be moving into the MSC in the ballroom next year, and we will have a 10 times bigger crowd because this is a very great session. This panel has been bombed today. I'm just gonna say, I feel honored to be on the panel with these young ladies. And so hopefully, you know, y'all spread the word and just say, hey, the Office of Student Financial Services, we have this great program every year, financial literacy with a great panel, and I wanna see y'all next year. And we plan to grow with those that are graduating, maybe not if you're coming to grad school.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. But continue to spread the word because we will be back next year bigger and better with this hopefully the same great panel plus some. So I just want to give a shout out to Kay. So thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, this was very informative. At this time, we want to take a moment to honor the incredible women who have poured into us during Shades of Purple with the bag to match. Our panelists are more than just professionals. They are trailblazers, visionaries, living examples of what it means to build wealth, walk in purpose, and lead with intention. Each of you shared not only your expertise, but your stories, your lessons, and your truth. You have reminded us that success is not just about what we gain, but who we become in the process. Because of you, every person in this room leaves more informed, more empowered, and more inspired to take control of their financial future and protect their peace. We see you. We appreciate you. And we thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your commitment to uplifting others. So let's give our phenomenal panelists a well-deserved round of applause.
Righty, so we do have a gift for our panelists. We're going to first start with Miss May. All right, next we have is Tyler Simone. Thank you so much. All right, we have Nicole next. Okay, Dr. Thomas.
All right. Look, got to warm up like a Buick. No.
Okay, and then Miss PV, she did leave. We have a plaque for her too as well. And then Rika, we will be having your plaque here on the way, and then we'll give it to you as well. So just give the panelists one more round of applause. Thank you, ladies, so much. Okay, so next we're just gonna do one quick picture with the entire audience, and then we're gonna move to pictures with the panelists, okay? All right, so if you guys can go ahead and let's have the panelists stand up.
Dr. Joy, she meant on social media. Connect with us on social media, LinkedIn. Thank you, guys.
I don't even have my phone.